In a distant galaxy, the Zartok Alliance ruled with great power and confidence. They controlled many planets and had advanced technology. They looked down on Earth and its people. To them, humans were just a small, primitive species with no real weapons. The Zartoks believed they were superior, and they often laughed at human technology. They called it old-fashioned and weak. In one of their grand meeting halls, Zartok leaders gathered to discuss their plans to conquer Earth. They sat around a large table adorned with alien technology and holographic maps. The main leader, General Thrax, spoke with a loud voice. "These humans think they can stand against us with their primitive arms. It's laughable." The others laughed, their voices echoing in the hall. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Sarah Lee was hard at work in her laboratory. She was a brilliant scientist, known for her innovative ideas. Sarah believed that humanity had potential far beyond what the Zartoks thought. She spent long hours researching and developing new technologies, often alone in her lab. While others doubted the power of human weapons, Sarah saw possibilities. One day, while examining old military projects, she stumbled upon a top-secret file about antimatter bombs. Sarah's heart raced as she read through the documents. This bomb could change everything! It was unlike anything humanity had ever created. If we can develop this, she thought, we could show the Zartoks that we are not to be underestimated. Eager to share her discovery, Sarah called a meeting with military leaders. She explained her findings passionately. This antimatter bomb can create energy that is powerful enough to destroy an entire fleet in one blast. But the room fell silent. The military leaders exchanged doubtful glances, unsure whether to believe her. General Carter, a seasoned officer, spoke up. "Dr. Lee, we appreciate your enthusiasm, but we cannot rely on old projects. We need real weapons now, not dreams." Feeling discouraged, Sarah left the meeting. The Zartoks continued their attacks, and more human colonies fell. She could see the fear in people's eyes. They were losing hope. But Sarah refused to give up. She returned to her lab and worked tirelessly, determined to prove the military wrong. Weeks passed, and the war raged on. Sarah spent nights perfecting the antimatter bomb design. She gathered a small team of trusted scientists who believed in her vision. Together, they conducted secret tests in an isolated area away from prying eyes. Each test was risky, but they were filled with excitement. Every successful experiment brought them closer to their goal. One night, as they prepared for another test, the team gathered around the bomb. It was a large, shiny device, unlike any weapon they had seen before. "This is it," Sarah said, her voice filled with hope. "If we succeed, we can change the course of this war." The team nodded, sharing her excitement. They activated the bomb and watched in awe as it charged up, energy crackling in the air. But just then, a Zartok scout ship flew over the testing area. The aliens noticed the unusual energy readings. "What are these humans up to?" the scout leader wondered, reporting back to General Thrax. The Zartok leaders dismissed the report, laughing at what they thought was another failed human experiment. "They'll never learn," General Thrax scoffed, convinced that humans were still a joke. He ordered more attacks on Earth, believing the humans were no threat at all. As the Zartoks continued their mockery, Sarah and her team celebrated a successful test. Little did they know, their secret was about to be discovered, and the power of their creation would soon challenge the Zartoks' belief in their superiority. In the shadows of their laboratory, hope flickered like a flame. Sarah knew that if they could harness the power of the antimatter bomb, they would shock the entire galaxy, especially those who mocked humanity. And with that thought, the battle for Earth took a new turn. The war against the Zartok Alliance was growing fiercer. Humanity faced attacks on multiple fronts, and the fear of defeat hung in the air like a heavy fog. While the Zartoks laughed at Earth's primitive technology, Dr. Sarah Lee and her team were working hard in their secret laboratory. They had a powerful secret that could turn the tide of the war, the antimatter bomb. Dr. Lee knew they had to keep their work hidden. If the Zartoks found out about the bomb, they would do everything to destroy it before it could be used. As the team gathered in their dimly lit lab, Sarah felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She glanced around at her team, each face filled with determination and hope. "Today, we conduct our most important test yet," she said, her voice steady but filled with excitement. "If we succeed, we will show the Zartoks that we are not to be underestimated." Her team nodded in agreement. They had faced many challenges, but each small victory pushed them closer to their goal. They set up the equipment carefully, checking every detail twice. The bomb was more advanced than any weapon humanity had ever created. If it worked, it would generate an explosion with the power to wipe out entire fleets of alien ships. As the team prepared, Sarah thought about the consequences of their discovery. This bomb could change everything, she mused. But what if we misuse it? What if it falls into the wrong hands? She knew that great power came with great responsibility. But the desperation of their situation urged her forward. Finally, everything was ready. The team gathered around the bomb, their hearts racing. "Let's do this," Sarah said, and pressed the button to activate the device. They watched as energy began to swirl around the bomb, glowing brighter and brighter. The air crackled with electricity, and an exciting energy filled the room. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Sarah's heart dropped. "What's happening?" she yelled, glancing at her team. They scrambled to check the readings. A Zartok scout ship had detected their test. The ship's systems were monitoring the energy fluctuations, and the Zartoks were growing suspicious. "Shut it down! We can't let them know!" Sarah shouted, but it was too late. The bomb had already unleashed a burst of energy, a brilliant flash lighting up the night sky. The scout ship's sensors recorded the explosion, sending the data back to the Zartok command. On the Zartok home planet, General Thrax received the report. He stared at the readings with wide eyes. "What is this? An explosion of energy unlike anything we've seen!" His confidence began to waver as he turned to his advisors. "These humans may have more up their sleeves than we thought." Meanwhile, back on Earth, Sarah and her team were still processing the test. They had successfully demonstrated the bomb's potential, but they were also aware of the risk. "We need to be careful," Sarah warned. "If they come looking for us, we must be ready." Despite the danger, the team felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were no longer just fighting to survive. They had a weapon that could change the course of the war. The anticipation grew as they began to develop a plan for the bomb's use. As days passed, the Zartok Alliance launched more attacks on human colonies, confident in their strength. They believed that the humans were powerless to stop them. Little did they know that their biggest threat was silently preparing to strike. In the hidden lab, Sarah and her team worked around the clock to perfect the antimatter bomb. They faced many challenges, but each setback only fueled their determination. They were fighting for their lives and their planet. Finally, the day came when they felt ready. "We must act before the Zartoks figure out what we have," Sarah urged her team. "If we wait too long, we might lose everything." They agreed to use the bomb against the next Zartok invasion, knowing it could be their only chance. As they finalized their preparations, Sarah couldn't shake off the feeling of uncertainty. Would they be able to handle the power of the antimatter bomb? Would it really change the war? But deep down, she felt a spark of hope. They had a powerful secret that could shock the Zartoks and prove that humanity was not to be underestimated. The fight for Earth was far from over, but now they had a fighting chance. The day had finally arrived. The Zartok Alliance was planning another massive attack on Earth, confident that the humans would crumble under their might. They sent their warships, sleek and powerful, ready to destroy everything in their path. On Earth, a sense of dread filled the air, but Dr. Sarah Lee and her team were determined to change the fate of their planet. In the hidden lab, the team worked feverishly, preparing the antimatter bomb for its first real test in battle. Sarah looked at her team, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. "This is our chance to show the Zartoks that we are not weak. We must stay focused," she urged them. As the Zartok ships approached, the military gathered to discuss their strategy. General Carter, still skeptical of the bomb, voiced his concerns. "We cannot rely on one weapon. We need a full plan to defend ourselves." But Sarah, filled with confidence, responded, "Trust me, General. This bomb can change everything. It will catch them by surprise." The countdown to the attack began. The Zartok ships entered Earth's atmosphere, unleashing a barrage of firepower on the cities below. Explosions rocked the ground and chaos erupted everywhere. People ran for cover, their screams echoing in the air. The Zartoks laughed as they watched their enemies falter. But amidst the destruction, Sarah and her team remained calm. They had set up the bomb on a remote hill overlooking the battlefield. As the Zartok ships descended, Sarah activated the device, her hands steady despite the chaos around her. "Now!" she shouted, and the bomb sprang to life, glowing with intense energy. The Zartok ships continued their assault, unaware of the danger approaching. Suddenly, the ground shook violently and a blinding light erupted from the bomb. The energy swirled and crackled, illuminating the dark sky. The Zartok pilots, still focused on their attack, were taken by surprise as the shockwave hit them. In that moment, everything changed. The bomb detonated with an explosion that shook the entire region. A massive pulse of energy surged through the air, engulfing several Zartok ships. They were caught off guard, their advanced technology unable to defend against the unexpected blast. The ships disintegrated in a fiery spectacle, scattering debris across the sky. Back on Earth, the humans watched in disbelief as the Zartok fleet began to fall from the sky. The military command center erupted in cheers, and Sarah's team celebrated their success. "We did it! We really did it!" they shouted, high-fiving each other in excitement. But in the Zartok command center, panic spread like wildfire. General Thrax could not believe what he was seeing. "What is happening? How could they have such power?" His confidence shattered. He quickly called for a retreat. "We underestimated them. Prepare to fall back," he ordered, his voice filled with frustration and fear. As the remaining Zartok ships turned to escape, the humans felt a surge of hope. They had struck a blow against their enemies, proving that they were not to be underestimated. The victory brought the people of Earth together, igniting a spirit of resilience that had been dormant for too long. But as Sarah and her team celebrated, she knew they could not let their guard down. The Zartoks would not accept defeat easily. They would regroup and plan their revenge. The battle was far from over, and Sarah understood that they needed to be ready for whatever came next. In the days that followed, Earth's military began to see the true potential of the antimatter bomb. They expanded their plans, training soldiers on how to use the powerful weapon. The morale of the people surged, and they felt united against the Zartok threat. Yet in the shadows, General Thrax was plotting. He was determined to avenge the loss and prove that the Zartok alliance was still the mightiest force in the galaxy. The humans had shocked them, but that shock would soon turn into rage. Dr. Sarah Lee had become a symbol of hope for humanity. But she knew the fight was only beginning. The Zartoks would return, and they would come back stronger. As she stood in her lab, gazing at the stars, she vowed to protect her planet and prepare for the challenges that lay ahead. The first shock had been delivered, but a greater battle loomed on the horizon. The victory against the Zartok alliance sent waves of excitement across Earth. The news spread quickly. Humans had defeated a powerful enemy with a single weapon. People celebrated in the streets, their spirits high. But in the back of Dr. Sarah Lee's mind, she knew the fight was far from over. The Zartoks had retreated, but they were not defeated. In their command center, General Thrax plotted his next move. He gathered his top advisors, their faces grim. "We underestimated the humans. We will not make that mistake again," he declared, his eyes burning with anger. "We will come back with a force they cannot withstand. Prepare for a full-scale invasion." Meanwhile, back on Earth, Sarah and her team worked tirelessly to refine the antimatter bomb. They had only begun to understand its true power, and they knew they needed more weapons if they wanted to survive the Zartok's inevitable return. The atmosphere in the lab was tense, filled with determination and fear. "Every moment counts," Sarah said as she reviewed their plans. "We need to create more bombs and train our military. If we can show the Zartoks we are ready, they might think twice before attacking again." Her team nodded, their resolve strengthening. As the weeks passed, the humans developed new strategies and weapons. They began to build defenses around key cities, preparing for the next Zartok onslaught. Soldiers trained harder than ever, practicing their combat skills and learning how to handle the antimatter bombs. Sarah felt the weight of responsibility, but also the thrill of purpose. They were no longer just defending their planet, they were preparing to strike back. Then the day arrived when the Zartoks reappeared in Earth's atmosphere, their massive ships casting shadows over the cities below. General Thrax was confident that this time, victory would be his. He had brought a fleet twice the size of the last attack. The Zartoks launched their assault, firing energy beams and missiles at Earth's defenses. As chaos erupted on the ground, Sarah and her team were ready. "Activate the defense systems," she shouted, her heart racing. The humans launched their own counterattacks, the sky lighting up with explosions as the Zartok ships fell under their fire. But the real surprise was yet to come. As the Zartoks advanced, Sarah gave the signal. Her team unleashed the antimatter bombs. The devices detonated with a power greater than anyone had anticipated. A wave of energy swept through the air, engulfing the Zartok ships. In an instant, several of them were obliterated, their fiery wreckage scattering across the sky. General Thrax watched in horror as his fleet suffered heavy losses. "What are they doing?" he yelled, his anger boiling over. The humans were fighting back with a strength he had not expected. "Retreat! We need to regroup," he ordered, but it was too late. The humans were no longer just defenders. They were now the attackers. The tide of battle turned. Sarah and her team felt exhilaration as they witnessed the Zartoks falter. The once mighty fleet was now in disarray, struggling to find a way to escape. Earth's forces pressed forward, determined to capitalize on their advantage. "We have them on the run," Sarah shouted, adrenaline pumping through her veins. As the Zartoks began to retreat, they dropped their remaining missiles in a desperate attempt to escape. But the humans were ready. With precision and coordination, they intercepted the missiles mid-flight, neutralizing the threat before it could reach the ground. As the last Zartok ships vanished into the distance, cheers erupted in the command center. "We did it! We turned the tables!" Soldiers shouted, hugging each other in celebration. Sarah's heart swelled with pride. They had shown the Zartoks that humans were not to be taken lightly. They were a force to be reckoned with. But even as they celebrated, Sarah knew that the war was far from over. The Zartoks would come back, and they would come back angry. "We must stay vigilant," she reminded her team. "This victory is just the beginning. We have to prepare for whatever they throw at us next." In the days that followed, Earth's leaders met to discuss their next steps. With their newfound confidence, they began planning for the future. They would strengthen their defenses, create new weapons, and build alliances with other planets that had also suffered under Zartok rule. As Sarah looked out at the horizon, she felt a sense of hope. They had turned the tables on the Zartoks, but the fight for survival was not over. With each challenge they faced, the humans grew stronger and more united. They would stand together and defend their home, no matter what. The war was far from finished, and Sarah was ready for the battles ahead. The air was thick with tension as Earth prepared for the final showdown against the Zartok Alliance. After their previous defeat, General Thrax was more determined than ever to crush humanity once and for all. He had spent weeks regrouping, gathering a massive fleet, and plotting a devastating counterattack. Earth's military forces were on high alert, knowing that this would be the ultimate test of their strength and resolve. In the command center, Dr. Sarah Lee reviewed the final plans with her team. "This is it. We know what they're capable of, and we have to be ready for anything," she said, her voice steady. "We've developed new weapons and improved our strategies, but we must stay united. We cannot let fear take hold." The military leaders gathered around her, their faces grim but determined. General Carter, who had been skeptical from the start, now stood beside her. "We must hold the line. This time, we won't just defend, we will attack with everything we have," he said, his tone fierce. The humans were ready to show the Zartoks that they were not afraid. As the Zartok fleet appeared on the horizon, a wave of dread washed over the soldiers. Massive warships loomed in the sky, blocking out the sun. Sarah felt her heart race, but she pushed the fear aside. "Remember our training. We know what to do," she shouted to her team, trying to inspire confidence in them. The battle began with an explosive bang. The Zartok ships fired their energy weapons, lighting up the sky with deadly beams. The humans quickly responded, launching their antimatter bombs and anti-aircraft missiles. Explosions rocked the battlefield as the two forces clashed with incredible intensity. General Thrax commanded his fleet from his flagship, watching as the chaos unfolded. "This time we will not falter," he roared, rallying his troops. "Show no mercy. Destroy them all!" His fury fueled the Zartok forces, driving them to attack with renewed vigor. But the humans had learned from their previous battles. They coordinated their movements, working as one to take down the Zartok ships. Sarah stood at the command console, her eyes locked on the screens as she relayed orders. "Target the lead ships! They are the key to breaking their formation," she instructed, her voice clear and strong. With a series of precise strikes, Earth's forces began to dismantle the Zartok fleet. Ships exploded in fiery displays, and the humans felt a surge of hope. They were turning the tide of battle. But just when victory seemed within reach, the Zartoks unleashed their secret weapon, a massive battleship, larger than anything the humans had seen. General Thrax smirked as he watched the battleship emerge. They think they can defeat us? They will regret ever challenging the Zartok Alliance. He activated the ship's powerful cannons, which charged with a dark energy that made the ground tremble. Get everyone to safety! Sarah shouted as she realized the danger. We need to focus on that battleship. With determination, she ordered her team to aim their strongest antimatter bombs at the new threat. This is our chance. We must take it down! The humans launched a barrage of antimatter bombs toward the battleship. As they flew through the air, time seemed to slow. The Zartok ship fired its cannons, and beams of dark energy shot toward Earth's forces. Explosions erupted around them, and for a moment, it seemed like all hope was lost. But the humans pressed on. Sarah watched as the antimatter bombs collided with the battleship, a brilliant flash of light illuminating the battlefield. The explosion was tremendous, sending shock waves through the air. For a moment, the entire battlefield fell silent. When the dust settled, the Zartok battleship was gone, a charred remnant floating in the sky. General Thrax, now furious, realized that his forces were faltering. "Retreat!" he yelled, his confidence shattered. "We cannot lose any more ships." The remaining Zartok forces turned to flee, their once mighty fleet now in chaos. The humans erupted in cheers, the sound echoing across the battlefield. They had done it. They had turned the tide and defeated the Zartoks. Sarah and her team hugged each other, tears of joy streaming down their faces. "We did it! We really did it!" they shouted, overwhelmed with relief. But in that moment of celebration, Sarah felt a pang of caution. The Zartoks were a dangerous foe, and they would not forget this defeat. As they celebrated, she also understood the importance of unity and strength. They had fought bravely, but the war was not truly over. As night fell, the stars shone brightly in the sky. The humans stood together, looking out at the remnants of the battle, their hearts filled with hope. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. From that day forward, they vowed to protect their planet, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They had turned the tables, and they were determined to stay strong no matter what came next.